training is, hey, listen, brother, you're here because you honestly don't know what you're doing, and you're going to walk away from this 30-minute, 40-minute, hour-long training session, and you're going to have a set of skills that you did not have prior to coming here.
When somebody goes through your training, what happens to their business?
Well, our data tells us that we see an average increase of 70.7% in their business.
Wait a minute. 70.7%.
70.7, yes.
Okay.
Over the next 12 months.
So I go to training, I get a raise.
You get a 71% raise.
Okay. I'm good. Are we ready to go? We're probably already rolling. Well, hey, listen, we're probably already rolling, so we might as well let that be the introduction. This is the man, the myth, the legend. This is Jeff Renevier. He is the vice president of sales for one of the top 2% real estate companies in the country. He owns all of the records, right? Like, this is a guy who got into the organization. He crushed it in sales in the industry. Then he went into leadership in the industry. He owns the recruiting record for an office that turned into becoming ultimately the vice president of sales for the organization, where he's now teaching other people how to be legends in growth and sales. And if that wasn't enough, he then went into Conklin and Family and has become an absolute sales warrior. Ding, 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 ding.
Yes.
And so he's here today because it is that time of year where we're doing annual planning, right?
Yes.
It's business planning. And so I thought it'd be really cool to have Jeff jump on with us and share just a little bit about, like, hey, what does business planning mean? How are we doing it? How are you teaching others to do it? And I don't know, just like learn a little bit more about Jeff. Now, you have to understand, this guy is the man. Like, he's a brother from another mother, and so there's probably going to be a little jackassery that's going to go on. At least I hope.
I hope so too.
Because business is sometimes boring. And so maybe we can make it a little bit fun.
Well, I'm going to do my best to make it a little fun.
Yeah, you're not that fun, though.
Well,
I'm
I
here,
would
though.
disagree.
I'm here. It's okay. I got you.
Oh, good.
I got you. All right. So first of all, why don't you introduce us to you? Like, who are you? Tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, sure. Thank you for that amazing introduction. My name is Jeff Renevier. As you mentioned, I'm the vice president of sales for a very, very, very large organization, top 2% in the country, hell, in the world. But I wasn't always there. I started off in title, believe it or not. I was a runner. I was picking up orders. I was doing all that. Then moved, became, marketing director, whatever the hell that meant. And then later on got into real estate. I'm originally a Southern California kid. Went to school in Missoula, Montana. Moved to Bozeman, Montana, which was like 2 strikes against you. Like, how I'm still there 20 years later is beyond me. They haven't ran me out of town quite yet. Father of one amazing little 6.5-year-old, almost 6.5, and a husband to the love of my life, Kelsey. And she just happens to be a really, 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 really good real estate agent. So, I think that's sort of me in a nutshell.
Well, I know that you're a sports fanatic, so I can use this and it will land. You definitely outkicked your coverage.
100%.
Yeah. So good
100.
Good for you. Good for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
As did you, by the way.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, thank you. Maybe not today, but how you stalked her and
that's a whole
turned her
series.
into a suspect that became a prospect, that became an interview that you presented to and nurtured and closed is literally sales perfection on display.
How do you think I came up with the proven process for recruiting?
It is incredible.
It is so parallel.
It really is. That is so funny. Is that really how you did it?
Well, yeah, it took me more than 2 appointments to close.
Yeah.
But, Yeah, that's exactly what it is. I didn't have much of a list, so I didn't really have to build it. But everything else that you said, the engage, the nurture, the questions, right? The appointment, setting the appointment, going on the appointment, the interviews, the questions. Yeah, nailed it.
Nailed it.
It
That's
just took me a
fascinating.
little longer.
So, so for those of you that are like not tracking, so Jeff created what he calls the proven process, and he teaches this proven process to other leaders in the industry, and he's a data driven dude, and so we had a conversation earlier about like the data. So he does a growth school masterclass that those people that go through the 6-week program on average onboarded 2.9 agents each, which for
in a 6-week span.
Yeah, for most people that's more than they do in 6 to 12 months. So what you're doing is huge, and I know we're going to dig in a little bit to that probably a little bit later. But before we get there, so can you share with us a little bit, like, what are you seeing in the industry right now? Are there any trends that you have your eyeballs on? Any corners you're trying to peek around?
Yeah, I mean, really right now, what we have found in the first time in probably 3.5 years, agents are starved for help. Like the industry itself, the game has changed a lot for them. And remember, like, the statistic is out there that 50% of licensed real estate agents, according to NAR, have been licensed less than 2 years. Well, post-COVID, right? Like, that's when we saw this massive influx. But the biggest deal that shocked me the first time I ever heard it was 90% of real estate agents had been in the business less than 10 years, which meant what? They never knew what 2009, 10, 11, hell, even 12, like what those years look like from a real estate perspective. We're sitting here going, oh, crud, we're only going to do 4.1 million transactions this year. Hell, back then it was under 4. It was like 3.6, 3.5. Like, there was a lot of units that were not being sold there. So the reason I bring that up is when people got into the business, what they're doing today was only what they knew from 2020, 21, 22. And the long and the short of it was we didn't have time to train. We didn't have time to build our skills because it was a hurry up, and holy smokes, if you didn't buy this place, there was 15 people lined up out the door. And so now agents are coming back and going, all right, I don't want to take a 30% pay cut like I have, and I need more. And they're looking for leadership, but more importantly, they're looking for somebody or some buddies who's done it before.
Yeah.
Right?
So another 30%, by the way. Like, that's what's crazy, right?
Yeah.
So the other stat that I saw there was it 49% of the licensed real estate professionals didn't do a transaction? Is that right?
Yes.
So let me make sure I get this right. So 49% of the licensed agents didn't make $1, which means they lost money because there's an expense associated with being an agent. 50% of the agents have been in the business less than 2 years, and 90% of the business agents have been in the business for less than 10 years, have never seen a downturn before.
Right.
So all of a sudden you do that backwards, and you start to realize why only 49% of the real estate professionals aren't professional. They're amateur.
Right.
So what are you doing to impact that? Let's call it, if you look at the 80-20 rule, right? 80% of the business is being done by 20% of the agents. What are you doing to impact the 80%?
We've gone all in on training. We've gone contrarian a little bit, right? So you hear all the coaching piece that's out there, and there's a lot of different coaches out there. Some of them are really, really good. Some of them have never sold a house in their life. But they've convinced people that, hey, follow me and I'll show you how to do it. And some of them are pretty good still, right? There's some followings that people are tracking and they're paying to be a part of. But training's different, right? Coaching is, all right, Todd, tell me why we're doing this. And I get to hold you accountable to your why. Training is, hey, listen, brother, you're here because you honestly don't know what you're doing, And you're going to walk away from this 30-minute, 40-minute, hour-long training session, and you're going to have a set of skills that you did not have prior to coming here. And those are things you can apply in your business immediately. And then you just continue to work on that, and you're just consistent within all of those different deals. Open house, for example. There's one way of doing open house, and then there's the right way to do an open house. That's something you train to. And if people don't want to do it, they cannot complain about not getting the result that they're looking for, right? So training has been a big thing. And because agents have seen a decrease in their business, they're looking for places, they're turning to organizations or individuals who are willing to pour into them on a training perspective.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, right? When shit gets real, all of a sudden people are like, all right, I'll listen now. Right. So are you seeing impact? So you're doing the training. What is the training?
Well, I mean, there's a bunch of different things that we've done. They're specific to lead sources, right? So geofarm, for example. There's the right way to do a geofarm, and then there's the old way of doing a geofarm.
Yeah.
Right? It's not just sending out a postcard. And
you're seeing impact.
100%.
So tell me about the impact. Like, what are you seeing?
So from a geofarm perspective, the impact that we've seen is the agent themselves are not only sending out those quote unquote postcards or whatever, we're backfilling it with door knocking and calls and events and so there's so much authority that agent is creating at a quicker clip than if they just followed the traditional marketing way of sending a postcard once a month for 18 months.
So I know you're a data guy, right? Yeah. So there are agents out there that are listening to this. They're like, oh yeah, that sounds like everybody else, right? And so like you're a data guy. Drop some data on me. When somebody goes through your training, what happens to their business?
Well, our data tells us that we see an average increase of 70.7% in their business.
Wait a minute. 70.7%.
70.7, yes.
Okay.
Over the next 12 months.
So I go to training, I get a raise.
You get a 71% raise.
Yeah. Okay. I'm game.
Okay.
That would, okay. All right. So now that we've established, all right, that's good. So tell me more.
Well, I mean, again, it comes down to right now we're focusing on lead sources. For the past few years, some people have just relied heavily on online ads, whether they were paid or they were organic or whatever. I mean, we're going to use the big Z word, right? Like they go that route. Or we can teach you what more consistent ways there are out there, right? So first and foremost, we always preach you got to have anywhere from 5 to 6 lead sources. And that's never been more true than it is today.
Amen.
And the first and foremost is your SOI. I mean, your sphere of influence is lead source number 1. I don't care. Try to convince me otherwise. Then in no particular order, there is a component of open houses. There's a component of geofarm. There's a component of events. There's a component of ads, online space, all the
social, all that stuff.
And so what we're doing is not just telling people what it looks like, but teaching them how to execute at a high level. And some people are more comfortable, believe it or not, knocking on a door than they are calling them.
Yeah.
Some people are more comfortable placing an ad and waiting for that person to raise their hand, the call to action, because that's what we teach you to do. Let's create something, a hook, whatever the case may be, to have marketing create opportunities, because that's what marketing is. It's not sending a postcard. It's not doing a flyer. It's I need names. I need numbers. I need people to raise their hand. And so when we do that at the level that we're doing it right now and we're teaching it to, is completely what we're not seeing our competitors do.
One of the things that I appreciate about what you do is rather than telling people what to do, which so many of these quote unquote influencers are, you're really leveraging this authority in the space. Look, I'm just going to show you what's going on. I'm going to show you what the best people are doing. I'm going to show you what the impact is, and then you can decide whether or not you're going to do it. I would recommend that you do it because it's working for other people. So, and I think that's one of those pieces that gets lost, right? Where you've got a lot of people who have never gone on a listing appointment teaching people how to go on a listing appointment.
Right.
It's kind of tough.
It's really challenging. And luckily for some of those folks, they bring in some top people who have done it, and you're like, holy smokes, that's a killer strategy.
Right.
But yeah, it just doesn't make any sense. It's really, really challenging to convince you, or again, all right, I'm a doctor. I'm going to perform heart surgery on you, but I've never gone to one med school class. Would you trust me?
No.
Okay.
I would not.
Like, I wouldn't trust myself
I am
either.
out. I have not had enough to drink to trust you on that. So listen, things are always changing. And certainly things have changed mightily this year with some legal stuff in the industry. But as you look at, like, I think you led with sphere of influence, that typically has always been the most important, which is interesting to me because, the industry is trained, these so-called disruptors are out there saying that, oh, no, it's not about people, it's not about people, it's not about people. And yet 70% of an agent's business comes from people that know, like, and trust them. Would indicate the total opposite. So are these so-called disruptors out there trying to, like, fight for the other 30%? Is that what's going on?
I think they've done a really good job of convincing salespeople, real estate salespeople, that, hey, listen, there's other ways to make money in real estate. Why don't you recruit people to your fill in the blank, your bottom line, your however that looks like. Right, your downline. There's different models that, are revolving around profit, or some are just based off of revenue,
stock options, IPOs,
all of that stuff, right? And I think people are like, "Holy smokes, that's the silver bullet."
Yeah.
I mean,
all the ways I can generate money without having to actually work,
having to pick up a phone and have a conversation with somebody who supposedly already knows me, who hopefully already likes me, who hopefully really trusts me.
Which sucks as we watch those people, right?
It sucks for the consumer.
Well, it sucks for the consumer. The consumer gets a poor experience for sure. Which, by the way, I know that there's all this talk about commission compression and that kind of stuff. But look, if that's the direction and you're going to end up with an agent that's more focused on recruiting than actually providing value to the customer and helping the customer win, then they should pay less. But for those people who are committed to delivering exceptional real estate experiences to the consumer, and they're focused on the sphere of influence, has what they do to connect with them and to activate them changed?
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about that.
So I'm blessed to be married to an agent who loves doing events. Like, that is her jam. She loves doing events. And the ROI, because again, you led with it, right? I'm a data-driven guy. I'll spend $1 if I think I'm going to make 10. I'll spend 2 if I think I'm going to make 8, right? So on and so forth. And so I'll have these conversations with Kelsey, and she'll be like, I want to do this. And you're like, okay. In my head, I'm like, that means we have to see why in return. So events I think are the most untapped source for creating potential business. And it's not even the people who show up. It's not even the people who you already know. It's the people that they bring. Hello? Every person, in my opinion, every person is a conduit to 10 other people I didn't know. Yeah. Right? Every person, I believe, is a conduit to 10 other people that I don't know. And so if I'm approaching it that way, like, hey, listen, Todd, I want to invite you to Santa photos. Bring your cousin, bring your friend, bring your neighbor, whatever the case may be. So coming in here, and then it's not the cold call piece.
Right.
Then guess what? I get to call you and be like, hey, Todd, your photos are in the gallery. I hope you enjoyed them.
Amen, bro.
Right? Like, so I'm not selling, but you and I are building rapport. We're having a relationship.
That's got to land. Listen, I know there's a bunch of people out there that are like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired of scripts and dialogues and scripts and dialogues and cold calls and door knocking and all those kinds of things. Listen to what he's saying right now. He's talking specifically about how you don't have to cold call. Never make another cold call as long as you live. All you have to do, follow the sales warrior strategies, and you got it. These are warm calls. These are connections with people where you're providing value, and you get to make really, really awesome phone calls. And, oh, by the way, they like introducing you to other people. Right. Yeah, that's fantastic, dude. So I know we're in that business planning season right now, and you've got a big event that's coming up on November 20th. Is that right?
Yep.
Where you're going to walk everybody through a business planning session and how to build out the perfect business plan for the perfect life, lead sources in all. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's not your everyday business plan in that, hey, listen, here's the deal. This is how much money you want to make, and here's the average. There's a component of that because it's data, right? The data does not lie. There's a certain element, but it takes it up a notch in that if you are tracking everything, all the leading indicators will give you the lagging, right? Meaning, okay, how many days do you plan on working? How many hours do you plan on prospecting? How many connections do you think you need to make in order to? And if you don't know the answer, I'm going to give you some averages based off of your experience in the business, your markets, right? Because resort markets are a little challenging. Newer to business is maybe a little more challenging than somebody who's doing 50 million a year. They probably don't have the same conversion rate. Would you agree?
Yep.
And so from that actual data, we're able to figure out to the letter of the law, right, that you need to simply make 4.5 connections. Well, since we don't work in fractions, let's just bump it to 5. You'll thank me later. Your bank account will thank me later.
Exactly.
Right?
Your spouse will thank us later.
Yeah. You can send me the extra
That's
if
right.
you want. So we just figured out to the actual deal to say, hey, listen, Todd, in order for you to hit X, and your number's your number, I'm just going to reverse engineer it for you. Here's what you need to do. Let's go through your lead sources. Excellent. Remember, SOI is number 1. Then you can pick any of these other ones. You can pick 4 of these other ones over here.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to teach you the skills for each one of them. And that, not even just the skills. Guys, this is what you have to do. Here's the process. Here's the this, that. It's here's what you say, here's how you say it, and here's when you say it.
Brilliant. So the other part of that, right, we always talk about the 4 foundations. So I love the fact that this business planning event it checks all the boxes from leaving with a business plan. And I know there's a lot of options out there, right? There's every other coaching company in the country is doing some kind of a business planning. But what I love is that you dig into faith, that you dig into family, that you dig into fitness, as well as the financial component of it. So if somebody wanted to well, tell us a little bit about it. Like, so it's on the 20th. How long is it? How would it? Can I go if
Yes.
I'm somebody that's not part of your organization? Can I go?
Yes.
So tell us. And by the way, we'll include a link in the comments below, the description below, so that you can register for his event. Yeah,
and so it's going to be at 11 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. I think we make the switch by then. It's roughly 2 hours. It's not an all-day event. We get in, we roll up our sleeves. There's some work breakout session type of component within our organization. We'll sort of hit pause for a little bit, and our managers will walk through with some of the agents to kind of help them do the spreadsheets or the worksheets, if you will. And then we really, really get back into it, because it's one thing to say, hey, my goal is to make $500,000. What's the first question you should ask? Yeah. Why?
Why?
What is it about 500 that is so important to you? Well, hell, I've never made that much money. Okay, great. But why? What really is it, right? So you got to peel back, and you help some of these folks have those visions, because we're scared to dream sometimes.
Amen, brother.
Like, we're scared to say really what's on our heart all the time. And I shouldn't say all the time, but it seems like when someone says a number and they squirm, you know you hit the number.
You hit it, right?
Like, you nailed it.
It's the thing, right? We talk about like fear. You can either use fear or get used by fear. And what I love what you're doing is you're really framing it so that people can use the fear. They've got the data. They know exactly what I need to do in order to have the life that I want. Yes. And yeah, it scares me a little bit to even talk about it, but I have a plan now. And all I have to do now is use that fear to motivate me to execute it on the days that are test days, the days that are dark, the days that are cold, the days that I don't want to do the work. I love it.
But then what's the best piece about that is in our organization, a lot of our folks will share that with our local leaders. And guess what? Now I get to hold you accountable to what you put down as a goal. But in a loving way. It's like, hey, man, 3rd week in a row you haven't hit your connection goal. Am I calling Sally or are you going to let her know? Ooh. Right?
Yeah.
Like, did you change your financial goal?
How's that conversation go?
With the spouse or with me?
Yeah, right, exactly. Have you ever made the call?
With me.
Have you ever made the call?
No, I did it one time when I ran into somebody at a restaurant. Like, and maybe I had a little extra liquid courage.
Little extra?
And I was like, hey, how's he doing on his calls? Right? Kind of a deal.
Yeah, good.
And she had no idea. I said, okay, what you need to understand is him and I made an agreement that if he didn't do this, then this was what was going to happen.
That's awesome. That's badass. I love that shit. I love it.
And so she made sure, and he blistered me the next day, like, you son of a gun, how could you have ever done that?
But he did the calls, didn't he?
Started making the phone calls.
100% he made the phone calls. Isn't that funny? I think that's part of the leadership. Everybody's like, oh yeah, to be a leader. I'm like, yeah, I don't know that you know exactly what you're talking about. Because one of the things that's really interesting about being a leader is awkward and uncomfortable as the conversations and holding somebody accountable to doing what they said they wanted to do so that they could have the thing that they wanted to have is far more awkward and uncomfortable than it is for the person that's being held accountable. And I know that sounds odd, but trust me, it's true, right? Because what we're doing as a leader to hold somebody else accountable is purely out of love, and it takes tremendous amount of courage, because at the end of the day, if you walk down the street with lettuce in your teeth, it didn't impact my day. You know what I'm saying?
Very true.
Yeah, amen to that.
Yes.
All right, so there's somebody out there that's thinking to themselves, this is awesome. I love what you're doing. I love the training. Totally get it. Coaching maybe has its place. Training definitely has its place.
Definitely.
We're in the business planning season. That's cool. Love what you're doing. You're helping people build business plans. You know what? I think I want to be a leader, to be the vice president of sales for an organization. Like, what's a piece of advice that you would give somebody who's like has some aspirations to be a leader?
That's a great question. First, you have to win. It's hard to teach somebody to do something that you've never done. And so you touched on it earlier. I was elevated, or at least given the opportunity to elevate to the current position I'm in today because of what I was doing on the recruitment side. But when recruiting was going well, guess what also was happening? We were in production. Guess what? The more production we did, the more profitable we became. And recruiting got easier because we were attracting amazing talent. And then the next piece, the maturation for me, was sustaining it, right? Because you had that team in place, and you're going to quickly figure out, you're like, okay, not everybody is perfect for this, and they're going to move on, and they're going to leave, and they're going to do the thing, but you got to bring in some of that additional talent. So somebody who's looking to grow their skill set is, one, you have to do it. Two, you have to seek certain skills that you might not have. So checking your blind spots, right? Have that self-assessment. Say, okay, this is where I think I'm skilled. Find a mentor. Find somebody who's done it before you, and then ask them how they did it. And that'll leave, success leaves clues. You talk about it all the time. And so when you look for people who have done what it is that you're wanting to accomplish, you're going to learn a lot from just what they did. Both good, bad, or indifferent, right? Like, you're going to figure it out. And then you just start to compound all that stuff and go all in. You got to go all in.
You got to go all in.
You cannot be interested. You have to be committed.
Yeah, there's no toe dipping in this deal. This you don't get into the cold plunge one toe at a time. You go in. Yeah, and I love sort of the environment and ecosystem that you're building. And truthfully, I think anybody who's in the leadership space that's had any success whatsoever, they're always the first to offer advice. They're always the first persons to give away all their secrets, right? Their top secrets. And I love that. And so being around those people becomes really, really, really powerful. So a couple of things. Number one, we'll put in the description a link to your business planning session. Yep. That's fantastic. If somebody wanted to reach out to you and just have a leadership conversation and just kind of pick your brain a little bit about like your journey, how you've been able to elevate and maybe get some words of wisdom, would it be okay for them to reach out to you?
Absolutely.
All right. So tell them how to get a hold of you.
So best email for me is my first and last name. So Jeff Renevier, and that's Renevier @gmail.com. Best phone, my cell is 406-570-2980. Follow me on Instagram, jrenny08. Facebook is Jeff Renevier. Got a profile picture. There's not many Reneviers out there.
No, there's not. There's not. Jay
You'll
Rennie.
find me.
Jay Rennie, the one and only.
Right.
Hey, listen, y'all. Well, first of all, thank you. I appreciate you coming down to Scottsdale to be on the podcast. I appreciate your wisdom. I know you're out there crushing it. Keep crushing it. Exciting time of year. It's an exciting time in the industry as things continue to change so much. And I know you believe like I do, like change. We love change, baby. Like everybody's like, oh, nobody loves change. We love change. It creates opportunities for us to go in and solve problems and do things that are exceptional. So keep doing what you're doing. Y'all, if you are an agent, you need to go to his business planning. It's unlike anything else that's out there. If you are a leader, you need to go to his business planning and you need to rip off and duplicate what he's doing. He doesn't care. Take it back to your agents and help them build a business plan. I don't know if you knew this or not, but less than 3% of the adult population each year actually puts a written plan together for the year. Is that crazy? So you have an opportunity to literally change people's lives simply by helping them put together a plan that they can execute on and just maybe get a different result, which would be totally incredible. So make sure that you register for his event. Make sure you reach out. Listen, who you hang out with matters, and he's offering himself as a mentor, as a person to hang out with, as a person to gain some knowledge, compress time, try to eliminate some of the pain that maybe he experienced as he was growing. And of course, if you liked this, give me a thumbs up on this episode. Leave a comment below. Maybe we missed something on the business planning or leadership space that we should be considering. Leave a comment below, and we would love your subscription so that you can make sure that you're hearing all of the greatness that people like Jeff are bringing to the podcast. Thanks again, buddy.
Thank you.